Time to preview the Ole Miss Rebels. We bring in from the Jackson Clarion-Ledger, covers the Ole Miss Rebels. Hugh Kellenberger joins us here on the new Sentinel Sports page. Hugh, Vince Ferrara, and Mike Strange. How you doing?
I'm doing good, guys. Thanks for having me.
Oh, you're welcome. Always great to have you. And so, Hugh, we got to start, obviously, with that quarterback situation. You get asked about it. You see it every day. You talk about it every day. What's the latest for our listeners on that quarterback situation at Ole Miss?
The latest is that they have so far avoided naming a starting quarterback. I fully expect them to go into the season playing both guys. They start with Central Arkansas and then UTEP before they play Texas. Those are two games I think that they'll really try to give both guys a look against some live competition that isn't an Ole Miss defensive player and see how they do. But so far through camp, I think Bo Wallace has had a better camp. The redshirt sophomore they signed from the JUCO ranks. He seems to just have a little bit more upside. Barry Brunetti, the junior from Memphis, he's just a little. What you see is what you get. He can run the ball, run some read option stuff, but actually throwing it a little bit more limited than Bo is.
Hugh, what's been the mood with Hugh Freeze? The new coach comes in there. Of course, he's been there before and knows his way around. What's the sentiment, just the general vibe around his first, as he gets ready to kick off his first season there?
You know, I think he's pretty excited, and you know, the campus, the community is pretty excited to have him. One of the things that he really had to do was to get these guys to start believing in themselves again. They really did not do that the last month or so of last season. They were broken down. There were a lot of academic problems, guys just not doing the work. And so for Hugh, the biggest priority beyond, okay, what kind of offense do I want to run, what kind of defense do I want to run, had to be how to change the mindset of these guys, how to convince them that they can win football games. I don't know how many football games are actually going to win this year, but I think it's a team that Ole Miss fans can be proud of and that will show up every Saturday.
Visiting with Hugh Kellenberger, getting a quick SEC preview on the Ole Miss Rebels as we're going around the conference. Hugh, what are some of the standout, most notable things that have come out of Ole Miss camp outside of that quarterback position?
You know, the big things, they've had a little bit of a run of injuries. They may start the year without Charles Sawyer, who's probably their best defensive player at safety. But at the same time, they've had a guy come up, Cody Pruitt, who started some games at the end of last season, but was third string in the spring after he turned his ankle really badly. He has gone from third string to starter and maybe their best defensive back during the course of 2 weeks. He's played really well. We've seen the wide receiver group step up and play really well. And, you know, a big question mark for Ole Miss coming into the year was running backs. Do they have just one guy, Jeff Scott, with any real experience? But they moved Randall Mackey, the former quarterback, to running back, and they've had a couple of freshmen, Jalen Walton and Octavius Mather, show up. And they really feel strongly about their depth right now and really feel that they have 4 or 5 guys that can carry it. And Jeff might actually not even be the number one back to start the year because of it.
Hugh, what are the things that you would just give us a couple strengths and weaknesses about this team? What are the things that are going to be the biggest issues for Ole Miss?
I think they're going to have very good speed on both sides of the ball. They put a real emphasis on putting guys in position to make plays. They moved some safeties to linebacker. They've put corners at kind of a 4-2-5, that hybrid safety linebacker positions, really kind of a nickel look. They're going to be much more aggressive on defense and try to use that speed. I think that's going to be something that'll be much improved, and it needed to be after they were last in the SEC in sacks last season. Offense, I think they also have good speed, a lot of guys that can make plays in space. Like I said, some good running back depth has emerged. It's just a matter of figuring out who's going to get those guys the ball and how is that offensive line going to come along with blocking for them.
Hugh, as you well know, that schedule, even for in the SEC, is brutal. It is I think clearly the most difficult schedule in the conference. Considering the schedule, considering the first year with a new staff, considering some of those injuries in the quarterback situation, what's a realistic number of wins for this Ole Miss team in your opinion?
the number I keep on coming to is 4. I can see 5. I can see 3. But if you look at their non-conference schedule outside of the Texas game, it's manageable. They should be 3-1. And then it's just a matter of, can you win any games within the SEC? Vandy comes to Oxford. Mississippi State comes to Oxford. Those are 2 good chances for a win. And you just never know. They have Texas A&M and Auburn both coming to Oxford in October. Those are 2 programs nobody really knows what to expect out of them. Maybe Ole Miss has one of those days where just everything goes right. They get a defensive touchdown, maybe something big on special teams, and they get a shot to win that game in the fourth quarter. But 4-8, 5-7, that's about maybe as good as it can get this year for Ole Miss.
You can follow more in the Jackson Clarion-Ledger on the Ole Miss Rebels throughout the season. Also on Twitter, Kellenberger CL, covering the Ole Miss Rebels with our SEC season preview. Hugh, always great to visit with you. Really appreciate your time this morning.
No problem. Thanks a lot, Vince.
Thanks. Hugh Kellenberger joining us here with our preview of the Ole Miss Rebels.